What's up, guys? Barry Game here, back with some more Idle Heroes, and today we're going to be talking about a little bit more of the early game. For those of you guys who started with our free-to-play series at Christmas, you guys might be wondering, Barry, who do I actually focus on, and who do I build besides my main Eloise? Well, there's a lot of heroes that you can build to 9 and 10 star that really do help your account and eventually become useful in other manners as well. So, yes, we always talk about Transcendence heroes, what are the best, but today we're talking about the top 5 non-Transcendence heroes to build in the early game, usually to 9 to 10 stars. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Make sure you guys take 1 second, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys are playing along with us on our free-to-play series. Let's get going. So one thing I want to mention before we get to the number 5 hero, in my opinion, that is kind of like the 5th best support hero to build on your early game accounts is all of these heroes are good as even a 5-star hero in your lineup. They get better at 9-star and even better in some situations when they reach 10-star. A lot of them don't need to reach 10-star. Most of them maximize their ability at 9-star. One of them is Rogan. So Rogan is an assassin in the Forest faction. Technically, he can get a solo Sealand 20 done in the Forest faction if you are trying to clear that out for more Gate of the Void resources, but really it comes down to 2 things with this hero. Number 1 is he has Warpath Roar. This passive skill is absolutely amazing. When the battle starts, increase all allies' speed by 20 and crit damage by 20% for 2 rounds. Assassins get a double bonus for this. Then also, when a round ends, he increases all allies' 20% attack and 10% crit chance for 2 rounds. Again, assassins get a double benefit. This is just nice in general just because the increased damage you're getting from both, even if they only live the first round, you're getting additional crit damage, which is nice. If you do manage to get an active skill on Rogan, his effect will give Bloodthirsty to 2 random allies. This says when a hero granted Bloodthirsty releases active or basic attacks, they will deal extra damage equal to 20% of the target's lost HP, capping at that hero's percentage of attack, and restore the hero by 30% of the damage dealt. So that is a really nice survivability and damage boost. Even if you just have Rogan at 5-star, I believe his effect still goes off here. If we jump down the bottom here, we should have a Rogan on our account anyway. You're getting a slightly smaller chance at Warpath Roar, and of course Bloodthirsty isn't as potent. You're only getting 10% of that damage dealt, but Rogan is just absolutely amazing, even as a 5-star, to just throw in your account and get some good support value. Next up is going to be Carrie, coming in at number 4. Carrie is really unique because, well, you're probably going to use her in a lot of different game modes. She's eventually going to be a tenant for your Eloise hero as well, and she has 2 really 3 different of her skills are really good. Her basic attack basically increases enemies energy by 50, which you might be like, Barry, that sounds horrible, but then she puts outburst of magic on the enemy, meaning she drains all the energy to 0, dealing damage based on the total energy drain. So her basic attack targets 1 random enemy and does that energy effect. She also has a way to revive, so when she dies, she'll become a shadowy spirit for 4 rounds, and then eventually she will revive with full energy at that, because her active skill is just as amazing. Granted, as a 5-star hero, she's okay. Her active skill is very weak. As a 5-star hero, really she becomes the best at 10-star because she's eventually going to hit 4 random enemies, causing energy oscillation. So that's the same thing. For every 1 point of energy the target has, they're going to take damage, and then has a 70% chance to inflict a devouring mark. This is a mark, so it can kill through the E5 Unbending Will. Basically says triggered when the mark's target energy reaches 100 or above. For every 1 point, they'll take damage, and then it zeroes out their energy. That is such a huge ability because you can put the mark on the enemy, and then even if it doesn't happen this round, if next round they gain a full energy bar, it instantly drains that energy, does damage, but the most important part, the enemy doesn't get an active skill. She's amazing to have. You're going to want a bunch of them as little 5-stars, as you guys see, even on our free-to-play account. You want a lot of them. They do help a ton, but of course, eventually you want to build her 10-star and above because she will be a tenant for your main hero, Eloise. Next up at number 3 is going to be Waldeck. So Waldeck you would not normally think is a good support hero because he's a ranger, and a lot of rangers in this game are damage dealers. But again, Carrie was a ranger, Waldeck is a ranger. He has a very unique ability. His last passive here, Gory Devotion, says when Waldeck is dead, he applies a bleed to all enemies. Then grants all allies Blood Frenzy 3. So this is the main part here. You don't need him to live or anything. Just simply when he dies, this effect will take place because you'll put a bleed on all the enemies. Now your Eloise will get Blood Frenzy 3, which is a skill effect that says when the hero granted with Blood Frenzy is attacked by a target that is bleeding, increases self attack by 12% for 3 rounds, so it's a damage boost, and restores self by 16% of that HP lost. It doesn't stack, it just happens one time, of course, per enemy, but it's a boost to your damage, it's a boost to your healing. Really good. And as you guys can see, even the active skill will apply it to 3 random allies. The passive is just nice because it gives it to all allies, which is why typically you're going to build him up to a 9-star for quite a while on your account. It's so potent when you get up to a 9-star. 9-star maxes this out. The 10-star maxes out the active skill. So if you're really trying to optimize, you can go for 10-star. However, that food might be better used elsewhere, but that's why this attack buff and healing puts him at number 3. Now coming in at number 2 is another Abyss hero, Ignis. Ignis you've probably seen around a ton. Again, she's another hero that's very good as a 5-star, better as a 9-star. 10-star is kind of better, but again, another hero, 9-star is kind of the highest you need to take this hero, and that's because her last passive, once again, you know, his last pass was pretty strong in this game. Eternity of Dragon Soul. Passive skill, when Ignis dies, she will heal the nearest ally for 100% of the allies max HP. So even if this hero has like next to no HP and your main Eloise has millions and billions of HP, it'll fully heal that HP bar and increase the ally to 100 energy, or by 100 energy, and 100% control immunity. That is huge. That makes it basically where very few enemies have a chance to CC your main hero, so you can do something else besides having control purify on your Eloise at E3. And on top of that, feeds energy to them. This is really strong. Now what happens with this is if there is a hero in front and behind. Now when I say in front and behind, you have the 2 front row slots, that's slot 1 and 2. Then you have the back 3, 4, 5, 6 from bottom to top. So if you have her in slot 3, which is the back row, very bottom slot, it'll try to heal slot 2 in the front row, the top one first. If there's no hero there, it'll then go backwards in the lineup to the slot 4 position, so on and so forth, like that. This is absolutely amazing. Again, when you do take her 10-star, it does increase the potency of her active skill, which again feeds energy by 100 and also gives them 40% damage reduction. So if your Ignis is living, this is really strong. If she's just instantly dying, this is strong as well. The biggest part, I feel like even more than the energy feed that we use Ignis for, is that 100% control immunity. So make sure you have at least some 5-star heroes built up. I think we even have a 5-star version on here, and you can see it's not nearly as good. 30 energy, and of course 20% control immunity. 10% damage reduction, 30 energy feed. Not as good, but still absolutely amazing. Now, of course, the ordering of these heroes can probably be mixed up all over because you actually want all of these heroes in the end game, but I put Tix at number 1 for one very big reason. Number 1, he is a tenant for Eloise and a hero that you're going to use for quite a while until you get to the quote-unquote newer game modes, because they did change something that we'll explain with Tix here. But he has a couple things that are really strong. His active skill is one of the best active skills in the game for old content. He essentially deals damage to 4 random enemies and then extra damage equal to the enemy's attack. In a lot of the older game modes, so we're talking about like Void Vortex through like Defire kind of, we're talking about Aspen Dungeon up through Death 100, we're talking about Tower of Oblivion, Sealand up to, I believe it's only 20. A lot of the enemies used to have very high attack values. Tix came and then they had to change things. They gave enemies very high HP pools, very low attack percent like numbers, and then gave them other ways to deal additional damage. And it was basically because of this hero, because 800% of the attackers, the enemy's damage or attack was just ridiculously high damage. On top of that, he then steals 25% of that enemy's ability also has a chance to silence them, horrify them, lots of big things. Even his basic attack was basically a way to steal attack at the end of the round. If an enemy has higher attack than himself, he swaps it up to a certain percentage of his attack, and when he dies, he becomes a revenging wraith, a little ghost hovering over the enemy, basically dealing damage at the end of every round. And then when that hero dies, it does a nice big explosion damage. Very, very strong. Everybody should have like a 10-star Tix in the early game on their account, because number one, he's going to help clear Tower of Oblivion, so you can unlock Tower of Dreams very early on and start acquiring a couple things. You're going to be able to acquire special treasure train treasures. You're going to be able to get Cloud Island materials and a lot of different things like that. Tix is also going to be absolutely amazing for things like Void Vortex. And heck, I mean, if you haven't gotten Sealand 20 done in Shadow, he's going to help even more with your Eloise in that situation as well. I think he is one of the better of the 5 here. Granted, he plays more of like a damage role / attack reduction role. He's very unique. But honestly, a 10-star with an energy artifact in round 1 is going to out damage Eloise in a lot of situations. But you need that Eloise there to be able to survive and let Tix do what he needs to do. So hopefully this helps you guys decide what heroes to try to keep in the early game. Eventually we'll do like a whole tier list of non-transcendence heroes as well. I think that would be very, very helpful to you guys to know what heroes are worth keeping around. Granted, if they are a tenant for a very good hero, that gives them more value, whereas if they're not so much. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and let me know how your free-to-play accounts are going, and I'll see you guys next time.